Welcome back to another one of our interview sessions for YouTube. Today I have a teammate on here. His call sign is Jraco. He's the XO of our Airsoft team. Welcome, Jraco. I'm glad to have you on. It's on a video chat here today.
It's good to be here.
We're going to jump right into the questions, if you don't mind. Starting off with the first one, how did you get started in Airsoft? That's always a good question.
I got started when I had gone to a supermarket in California, and they had airsoft guns in there. So we went to the mall. This was way back. I was like 18. We went to the mall, and they had an entire store dedicated to it. That's where I learned about it, but I didn't actually get into it until after I moved from California to Pennsylvania. Then I looked up a bunch of stuff about locals who play in my area, because that's what the guys at the store told me to do. They're like, "Oh, just look for people who are local to you." So that's what I did. I found the NEPA Airsoft forum. I started looking over teams on there. I started talking to members. I was messaging a bunch of people, and it wound up coming down to two teams in my area. There was the Patriots and there was the Rebels. Yeah. So after that, I talked to the CO of the Patriots at the time. It was Chip. And then I pretty much I went to a game at Keeper's house. My goggles were shit. My boots weren't cool enough. My camo was all right. My helmet was shitty. My gun was crap. It's like basic stuff. I didn't have anything compared to what some of these guys were using. But as I got more into it, when I decided that I wanted it to be something that I was going to do, when I decided I was going to do this, I was like, yeah, enough with the small stuff. And I decided to get involved and actually get things that were, proper, like eyewear and footwear and gear and all that nonsense.
Well, that's a pretty good segue into the next question. What is your primary replica and loadout gear? What's your main go-to weapon, or what's your favorite one or two weapons that you use?
Oh, well, when it comes to my main primary, it's a Tokyo Marui tri-shot 870 shotgun, gas powered. I reconfigured it to use HPA. My loadout consists of a basic Molly vest with two mag pouches on the left side, a dump pouch on the left side. My entire right side is empty. On the back, I have a little, I don't know what those little backpacks are called, but people usually carry water in them.
Hydration pack.
That's what I have on the back. I keep my air tank in there. I keep my radio above that. And I keep my side, or my secondary weapon, which is a Elite Force 1911 CO2 blowback pistol.
Now I know you have a lot of other stuff that you use from time to time.
At this point, that is my primary stuff. That's what I'm going to bring if I'm ever going anywhere.
Yep. All right. Well, next question is, why and how did you get into the role you play in Airsoft now? Okay, I know years ago, me and you were hauling saws around doing stuff.
Yes. When I first started, I was a basic rifleman. I used to have an AK-74 and a G36C, and then my G36C turned into a G36K, and it was long, and it had a bipod, a drum mag. And I was like, you know what? I think I want to be an LMG guy. So, got myself an M60 and a 249. And for a long time, I was an LMG gunner for the team. I was the heavy gunner, or whatever you want to call it, the saw. And at some points, I was carrying both of those guns at the same time. That's kind of wild when I think about it now, but I used to do that. The reason that I am no longer a saw gunner on the team and why I've switched back to a more rifleman position is because when HPA first came out, it wasn't that big a deal. But as it got more streamlined and more updated, more upgrades, it got easier to operate, own, and maintain. Kind of outmoded LMGs. Not gonna lie, a lot of guns just became overperforming when it came to what they can do, and what I've seen, rates of fire, the amount of this, the low maintenance costs, the removal of all the working parts of an airsoft gun's gearbox. So it's a lot less stress. You're not going to be replacing a gearbox shell. You're not going to be replacing a piston. You're not going to be stripping gears, burning out a motor, none of that. So I got away from LMGs because at this point, it's not really a viable thing to use.
And your shotgun is very air efficient.
Yes, off of one full tank, I could probably go for the year.
Now that you have a 4500 68 or yeah, I was going to say you have a bigger tank for it, but you fill that up once and you're good to go.
And that's yes. The reason is because the way that the TM870 works is it's basically a large pistol. It has a cartridge style tank for holding its air. So you're basically filling up a tank. You're just using the tank going through your line into another tank, pressurizing that tank, and then when you squeeze the trigger, it releases a burst of air. That's all it's doing. It works just like a pistol. It's not really like a Polar Star or a Jack or anything like that. It's like you're using a giant pistol. So my air efficiency is amazing.
I see a guy just recently was selling HPA shot or an HPA shotgun that he converted regular gas he converted over HPA, and I was looking at it, and it's one of the short ones. What do they call a breacher? He had. It's a nice looking gun, but I have enough guns now. I don't really need to buy another one. So it's a nice one. Here's next one. Some people have multiple camos. Some people only have one. But what types of camo do you have? Now I know you have digital subdued because that's our camo for the team. But like, what other kind of camos do you have?
I've got digital woodland. I have regular woodland. I think it's called Marpat. I think that's the style for that particular woodland. And I have something I've never worn before, but I do own it. It is a solid black, pretty much top and bottom. And I also have an OD green Air Force style jumpsuit type of thing that goes over everything, just in case I were to go to an event and I needed to be green.
Okay.
I have had it for years. I've never used it. I've never worn the black one either. There was an event where they were saying that you needed black camo, so I just had it for that. This was years ago. Never wore it. So it's just sitting in the closet collecting dust. I don't know. Maybe I'll wear it one day. Maybe I won't. It's heavier. It's like a winterized camo, so it's not really.
And it still fits you?
In the summer.
Still fits you too?
Yeah.
Okay.
All my camo still fits, surprisingly.
I have a couple camos that, like, I need to lose some weight before I can throw them back on. All right. This is a pertinent question for this time of the year. What do you think about playing this time of year in the snow and the cold?
Honestly, as long as I'm prepared, I don't care. The only thing that I worry about is that the lower the temperature gets, the higher the chance of you breaking something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When you've got metal that contracts and constricts, and you've got hop-up rubber that gets like colder, things break the colder it gets. I know this from experience. Been playing for years, and it sucks when it happens. At this point, I don't have a means to replace a lot of the things I own because a lot of the things that I own are very rare.
Yeah.
They're no longer produced, or they're from a time when we were just flying by the seat of our pants. They were just making crazy stuff. So I have no problem playing the snow as long as I'm prepared. And I don't really want to play if it's below freezing. I have before, but I don't want to do that if I have the choice.
Like
It
this
would be
morning,
better.
-11. I don't think I'd want to be out in
Yeah,
that either.
I don't want to play in a situation where if you have water on you, it will begin to freeze.
Yep.
I don't really want to do that.
Yeah, I'm not a cold weather fan either myself. Um, this is a subjective question. This next one.
Mm-hmm.
What is your favorite field and why? It can be past and present. It can be a field that's no longer around, or one that's you haven't gone to in a long time. Just your favorite field that you've gone to.
That isn't yours?
Well, uh, like I know people
Oh,
say that I'm waiting for people to say, "Oh, my favorite field's yours," but like other fields would be a good question that people might recognize.
yeah. Okay, so my favorite field of all time, or I guess I should say the best place I've ever played airsoft. Like, how do we? Because there's one location, and it was the Scranton Lace Factory. But then that's not really an airsoft field. If you want a legitimate airsoft
Well,
field
no,
that
no,
was
that's a good
made for
example.
airsofters, well, then my favorite of all time was the Scranton Lace Factory.
Now
But
that
that
was
might
Operation Red
also,
Storm, right?
yes, yeah, I played twice there. That also might be because of how many people were there and how chaotic and action packed it was the
Mm-hmm.
whole time. It was a lot of darkness, a lot of indoors, a lot of close quarters. It was a lot of like just crazy situations. It was really fun, but in terms of field, very dangerous. So if we're not going to go with that, my other favorite field of all time is a field that is no longer around. It used to be called TFD. It was run by a team, I believe, called Task Force Devil. I think
Yep,
that's what they were called.
yep.
And that field was my favorite because it had lines of sight. It had two sides that were clearly defined. It was well maintained for the most part, so it wasn't a chore to play in. There weren't any really dangerous spots aside from maybe a rickety bridge. Um, it was just, I probably had the most fun when I was just getting into airsoft at that field, more so than any other field I had gone to.
My memory of that
Uh,
one is you getting shot
mhm.
by Chip.
Yeah, yeah, that did happen there. Yes, that did happen there.
In case anyone liked watching this video, Chip is our squad leader, and we constantly make fun of him for shooting us in the back by accident. And this particular field that Draco's talking about, he went by us, right? You went by our group. You actually went by Chip,
Yes.
and he shot you then later, right?
Yeah, I set up a position about 30 feet in front of him. I got behind this little mound of dirt, and I was holding a squad of, I don't know, maybe 3, 4 guys. They were inside this little building. It was called the church on that field. It was this little rickety, roughshod wooden piece of whatever. And I was holding them in there with cover fire, shooting past the window, shooting at the wood, making noise, just, keeping them in there. I get on the radio and I tell Chip to move up. And what does he do? He shoots me in the back. I'm like, oh, okay.
And
That's awful. So
and to
yeah,
clarify this has not been the only time that Chip has shot us in the
no.
back.
Chip is notorious for having killed me when I was like newer on the team. So far though, in recent months, recent years, he's been pretty good about it. He has a lot less team killing incidents than he used to back in like the early 2010s, 2011, 2012, that time. He was just killing
Well,
everybody on
last
the
training
team.
he did shoot me in the back, so and I was on his
He's
team.
still
He still
he's
does it.
still got it.
He still got it. Um, okay, this is a question, and probably it's not going to really have that much of a thing on you. What is the max distance? I can't talk. What is the max distance you will travel to attend an airsoft event or open play? There could be a distinction on there.
It depends. 2.5 hours, pretty much. But it like I mean, if there was like something really big and it was happening in upstate New York or in like Virginia or something like that would be like a once in a, you know, once a time type of thing. I wouldn't get on a plane. Let's put it
No.
that way. I wouldn't get on a plane to go play airsoft. That's a little ridiculous. Not to mention the logistics of you having to transport your shit. So no, I wouldn't do that. Driving distance, yeah. If it's gonna be a longer drive than 2.5 hours, having a place to stay would be nice because that does equate to 5 hours of driving. For other people, because I am a carpool person.
Okay. Like I know I am looking at some places out toward Altoona, which is 2.5, 2 3/4 hours away. And most of the places
Mm-hmm.
are like open places. It's not an event type thing that I'm looking at. Uh, the Altoona area, center of the state, there's a lot of nice stuff out there. And anything you look in southern Jersey is minimum 2.5 hours to 3 hours or more. Okay, like that new Atlas
Yeah.
field, that's 3.5 hours away. That's a haul to go 3.5 hours to go down and then play airsoft and then have to drive back 3.5 hours. That's killer.
Yeah.
So like 2.5 hours, that's pretty good. All right, here's a good one that you're gonna have some very good input on. What what turns you off most when you're playing at a field? Okay, that you
Uh,
say, oh, we could ever go back there,
or to never go back.
or
Something
you
that would
you
make
would
me
have to
never
think
go
about
back.
going back.
Uh, Safety.
Yep.
Safety 100%. Safety. If someone is disregarding or being flagrant with the rules set forth by the field, the owner, the refs, whatever, just the reason I say safety is because I have seen people get hurt. I've seen really bad injuries. I've heard of people being blind. I've seen chipped teeth. I've seen, people popping BBs out of their skin. And I don't mean this in like YouTube videos and shit. I mean this in real life.
Mm-hmm.
So when people disregard safety because, oh, whatever, fuck that. That's not cool to me. Sorry about the curse word, but I mean, it's just like that really gets under my skin. It's like, just, dude, they're telling you not to do this for a reason. There was probably a problem, and even if there wasn't, it's their prerogative to tell you to do this. Do it. What's the problem? And if you can't do it, then don't play here. Like, that's it. That's basically what it comes down to. Other than that, well, it all just stems from that. Like, rule breaking, it just being flagrant with it. Like, okay, you can't use this type of weapon here. Well, why not? Because we have rules in place. The insurance doesn't cover it. Whatever reason anyone comes up with. But then you'll have people who want to skate the rules, who want to bend them or get as close to breaking them as they can before somebody has to actually step in and say something. I don't like that. You
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't force a confrontation between you and staff or a field owner because it's is that how you get your fun? I don't understand it one way or another, and that would really turn me off from playing there.
I know.
Just not being just being disrespectful pretty much. I mean, that it's kind of shitty. It's shitty behavior.
I'm not going to name the field, but I remember me and you driving over 2 hours to get to this field. And the big thing I remember is the kid having a problem with his pistol. Come to find out he's shooting steel BBs out of a
Mm-hmm.
gun playing airsoft. And they didn't even chrono us. We chronoed ourselves, and we could have said anything. And I think we only were
Yep.
there for like, what, 2 hours, and then we left? If that?
Yes. That's another. That's what I mean. It all stems from like the safety aspect.
Yep.
Do you really want someone around shooting steel BBs? No.
Yep.
What the hell? That's like that will go through your gear. That will go in your skin. That will break your goggles and shit like that. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a little ridiculous to me, but it is something that did happen to us. We
Yes.
saw it. We were there. So again, it just comes back to rule breaking,
Yep.
disregarding rules, things like that.
Now, on my last interview that I had a lot of mentions about how good you and I were as refs at Plains Arena and how they enjoyed playing at Plains Arena because we were the refs. I,
I tried to make that place as safe as I could have made it,
yeah.
honestly, because we did have kids there,
Mm-hmm.
and kids are the future of airsoft. If the kids don't start wanting to play, it's going to be slim pickings for teen growth. It's going to be slim pickings for pretty much airsoft in general. Field owners are not going to make any money. They're not going to be able to pay the insurance. They're not going to be like, this is worth. It's not worth it because there's not a lot of people. So if you make it so that everyone has fun, then it kind of translates into there will be more airsoft. It's kind of that's what I aimed for anyway. Tried to make it as safe as I could. And I made sure people followed the rules as much as I could.
Yep.
And if they didn't, then we had a problem.
Hammer down.
Yep, exactly.
Now, this one I want you to go crazy on. Funniest story you have while playing airsoft. If you got more than one, that's fine. Knock yourself out. As many as you want.
The funniest, no, the number one that tops the charts. We were at an event. This was years ago. It was a capture the flag game. It wasn't really a capture the flag game. It was more of a king of the hill game. We had to raise flags and then hold the position until the round was over. Green team is where we were against tan team. And this was way back, I want to say, maybe like 8 years ago. Could be that long, yeah. So on our team, we had a member, and his name was Evan. Me and Evan were charged with watching a single flag after we had turned it to our color. We're sitting here. It is raining cats and dogs. It's crazy. There's like a haze over the entire field. You could barely see anything. And I'm telling Evan, man, I shouldn't have had that pizza or whatever I had at the time. I knew it was something cheesy, and I'm lactose intolerant, so my stomach was just going crazy. I'm like, dude, I'm dying here. He's like, no, don't die. And that's when I farted. And then Evan damn near died as well. It was so bad that this man gave up our position and walked around trying to fan it away outdoors. It was pretty bad. So I gotta say, taught me a valuable lesson. Don't eat certain things before airsoft, Try to keep it clean. Don't ruin your teammates' stuff. Oh my goodness. Another fun story, well, not so much funny, but a fun story I have is I went to a field, it's called the Saints Field. No longer around, but they had a mountain, a cliffside on their field. It was like, I don't know, maybe 20 feet high. It might be higher. I have no idea. But I was at the base of this cliffside, and I had my M60 in my hands, and my 249 was on my back with a sling. I climbed up that mountain, and at the top was another player by the name of Nick. He's Envy now. He's on the Patriots. He actually joined before me. He didn't have a call sign at the time. Nick was standing up there. He was on his phone. He looked at me. He was like, do you need help? I said, no, I got this. I climbed up over the cliff face onto the flat piece, and then I shot him in his foot. And he said, oh, you're not on my team? No, I'm not on your team. And he was like, what? Okay. And that's when I proceeded to walk along a path behind the enemy team and kill all of them. It was fantastic. There was only like 12 guys on the team. I think I killed 8 before they finally realized what was happening. Another story was when I actually did kill an entire enemy team, and it happened at TFD. That was something, because there were 3 of us, 3 people who were on my side, on our team, and we were going up the right side of that field. And there was like bushes and shrubbery, so we were belly crawling, just belly crawling the whole way. And as we're going, the guy in the back, sir, gets taken out. I look back, it's just me and one other guy. We continue to go, because what we're trying to do is get close enough to the enemy team, because what they're doing is amassing their force for one last push in the final 5 minutes. So they're all just dying and then waiting at their spawn. They're going to get every single person on their team to come out, go crazy, the last 5 minutes, hoorah, everybody shoot everybody, whatever. So we're crawling up, and The guy behind me gets popped. I look behind me. There's no one there. There's just no one there. So I'm like, okay. I get on the radio and I'm like, okay, guys, I'm moving up the right side. I'm by myself. Can I have some backup? A teammate at the time, name was Bo, replies about 15 seconds later. He's like, there is no backup. We're pinned down. I said, okay. I get right up on their spawn, not on their spawn point per se. There was a bridge that separated their spawn point from the playing field. And then there was like a little creek, a little river, saying it wasn't big, it was nothing. But there was a bridge there regardless. They all amassed. The ref calls 5 minutes. They're like, okay, are you guys ready? I can hear them talking. All right, yeah, I'm ready. Yeah, let's give it to them. Let's go. Oh, all right, everybody, go, go, go. They start running across the bridge in a single file line, and I just go from left to right, full auto, sprayed the whole team down. Then, instead of putting in another magazine, I pulled out my pistol. And I said, did anyone not get hit? Because they were all screaming hit. And then one guy's like, who are you? I'm like, I'm not on your team. I shot him in the foot. Shot another guy in the foot. I'm like, did anyone else not get hit? They're like, no, we're all hit. We're all hit. And then I'm like, holy shit. The ref is like, oh, okay. And that's when I decide to run from where they were back to my team. And I was yelling. I was like, dude, I just killed the whole enemy team. I just killed the whole enemy team. And I run past Chip, and I stop in the middle of the field. And I'm just standing out in the open. And he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, dude, they're dead. They're all dead. I just killed the whole enemy team. They're all dead. That's it. The game's over. The game's over. And he's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, man. You see me standing up here. Hey, anybody on the enemy team, shoot me. Ha, 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 ha. Like, I was just being wild and crazy and ridiculous. No one shot me. Then the ref blows the whistle. The game is over because we had a 5-minute bleed out time. So basically, when they died, that was the end of the game for them. And because it was the majority of the team, that was it. They called the game. That was probably
I remember that.
YTFD?
Yeah, I remember that.
YTFD is my favorite field because of that. It was so ridiculous.
Now, I told a story about your favorite field where you got stuck in the mud.
No.
With your 60.
No. Oh, you mean when I almost drowned?
Yeah.
That was so bad. It was so cold. Oh my god.
And the mud, and you broke your 60 that day too?
There was so... Okay, so when it comes to having a bad day in Airsoft, let me tell you, that was the worst day I've ever had in Airsoft in my life. Hands down, without a doubt, the worst day in my life. And I knew it was going to be bad when at the beginning of the day, I had realized I had forgotten my belt. So now my pants are falling. The zipper on my jacket broke. So now I have no zipper. So it's just open. Okay, it's going to be a shit day, but whatever, let's carry on. Throughout that day, I ruined brand new boots that I had bought the day before for this particular event. I figured I'm going to take them in there. I'm going to break them in. It's going to be great. No. I broke my favorite airsoft gun at the time, my M60. And I mean, broke it in an irreplaceable way. It was destroyed. I wrecked the entire mechanism that holds the magazine to the gun.
Yep.
And the whole thing just fell off into about a foot of mud, so I couldn't even find the pieces. And then I tried, after my gun broke, I figured I'm going back to staging. I tried to take a shortcut. Turns out that shortcut was a thin layer of icy snow on top of a frickin' river. And I had to be saved by a tree branch, and I had to roll out. All the while, everything in my pockets and my boots were full of water and mud. And to top it all off, this happened in the dead of winter. It was cold as ice. And let me tell you, when you have a bad day in Airsoft, it's going to be a bad day in Airsoft. So that was my worst day.
Yep.
And it was crap.
Yep. I like that. I remember whenever we would talk about this field and say to you about going to the field, Your favorite 2 words. Oh, hell no.
Yeah, hell, nope, hell no, hell no. If I can help it, I don't ever want to go there again. I don't know if it's changed now, but oh,
I don't.
memory of
They're
that
not
day
even.
haunts me
I don't think
still.
they're even doing paintball there anymore. People are trying to find out about it because they did some upgrades to the field, but no one has ever got back to me about what they're doing. There is a guy that says he lives like 10 minutes from the place. Was going to stop in and talk to him because the guy that owned it passed
Mm-hmm.
away, and supposedly they were supposed to be redoing most of the stuff there and doing paintball there now. But we'll see. Might as well move on to the last question, and this one is an opinion. How
Mm-hmm.
long do you think you will still be doing airsoft in the future? How long do you think you'll still be doing this?
Honestly, as long as I can. As long as I don't get like catastrophically hurt or come under financial ruin or something like that. As long as I can do it, I'm going to try to do it. I mean, I don't see a reason to stop. I did suffer an eye injury a few years back.
Mm-hmm.
That put me down for like a year. That was a shitty year. That year sucked. So I don't know. As long as I can is my actual answer to that. I don't have a definite date. It's not like 5 years I'm done. Like, I don't have that.
Keep going until
And
you can't. That's the way I look at
yeah,
it.
pretty much. Even if I wouldn't, or let's say I did get injured or something, I would still try to come in the mornings for training to hang out, maybe even stay, hang out because I don't know. When I had that eye injury, and I couldn't even go out of the house because I had light sensitivity and the wind would like sting like you had pepper spray in your face. It was awful. So unless it's something like that where I can't leave the house,
Mm-hmm.
I would still even come and hang out with you guys because I don't know. It's nice having a team that's still here, still together, mostly friendly with one another. I mean,
Well, we've been around for quite a while, and having access to a field and a place to come and play and get together and have a good time, it's more of a social organization as well as the airsoft team. That's the way I look at it. So,
yeah.
hey, I really appreciate you coming on like this, and
Mm-hmm.
you got some really good stories, uh, and it was a lot of fun talking to you. Maybe we'll do this again because I really like talking to you about some of the stories. Maybe just do airsoft stories for the whole time. That actually might be a lot of fun.
I do have a lot. I have a lot of them.
Well, hey, thanks for coming on, and I hope everybody else enjoyed the video. And as always, you guys have a good day.